A young first home buyer forced to sell. Let's have a look. Good afternoon, everyone. Florian here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your lazy Saturday cup of coffee. Sorry, the Steins at the other house. And relax. Let's have a talk about this article sent to me by a viewer about a relatively young gentleman that was forced to sell his house. And there may be a little bit more to the story than how the article is trying to paint it here. It's being painted as a cost of living story, but tell me if you think there's a bit more to it. Okay, we'll zoom in here so we can see it. There we go. Beautiful. Now, this is sadly a tale as old as time that I suspect many of you watching the video have are familiar with or have gone through yourself. The heartbreaking tale of homeowner Marcus Graham, as he was forced to sell because of rising costs and lost everything, including his marriage. Poor guy. I mean, divorce is never a happy occasion. It's always sad to hear about, a marriage. You go into a marriage with the expectation that that's it. It's forever. You're locked in through good times and bad times, through sickness and health, poverty and wealth. Sadly, that doesn't always seem to be the case. The man who went from a happy homeowner to a divorcee, back living with his parents, has revealed how rising mortgage repayments and the forced sale of his house had taken everything from him. Why has it taken his wife from him, though? I mean, money is the number one thing couples fight about. Money stress, managing money, it can be dangerous for any relationship. I think that's the whole Dave Ramsey's approach. Everything gets put in the one bucket. It's all combined. You're working together as a team when you're married, through richer or poorer. And when your wife has your back through tough times, it makes the good times that little bit better. So but he's still pretty young. Marcus Graham, 27, was forced to sell his house at Cranebrook in Sydney's West in June 2022 for $100,000 more than he bought in 2018, and has nothing to show for it. Okay, so he bought in 2018. Yeah, he would have seen some capital growth, which he did, but there you go. The $580,000 three-bedroom home was the first property purchase for Mr. Graham and his then wife, and repayments were manageable until the COVID-19 pandemic hit. So, he would have been pretty young then. How many years ago was that? There you go. He lost his job as a result of lockdown. And even though the bank suspended mortgage repayments, interest owed on the loan kept accumulating. So this is the example of the mortgage holidays that everyone was getting. The poor guy lost his job. The couple. Both of them fell. They should have been $32,000 in arrears. Shit. And the pressure took a significant mental toll. I lost my job, and from then on, once lockdown started becoming more severe, I ended up suffering a mental health crisis, and things got out of control, he told the Daily Mail. So did he burn out or have a breakdown? I'm sorry to hear that, mate. I'm sorry to hear that. It just felt like all of the security that I'd managed to build up was taken away. Plus, the rising interest rates made it completely impossible to maintain mortgage payments. But we don't see anything of the wife in here. It's a partnership. I feel sorry for this guy, honestly. I don't know if it's cost of living that's the main issue here. There's two people signing up to this, isn't it? Once the financial security was gone, then all of the safety and security in my mind was gone. I thought I had absolutely nothing, and it was the end. Everything I'd worked for is over. Okay. He makes a very A very good takeaway here is the opposite, the safety you can feel when you've got a financial buffer. When you've got no debts other than a mortgage you can afford, which he couldn't afford. I mean, whenever we see these stories of people struggling on like 125 grand, 150 grand, and people are going, I don't understand. You know, when you're seeing that much money and you're thinking, how can they struggle on that? It has to be, and I'm just guessing here, and this is what Rachel keeps telling me when I'm going, how can they be? It has to be other debts. It has to be a credit card. It has to be a car loan. It has to be something else that's hoovering money out, because that can really make a difference. Sorry, I've had an incredibly lazy Saturday. I've done absolutely no work and no chores. I've just been playing computer games all day. It's been great. But back to the topic here. I mean, that's a cheap hobby, playing computer games. What if you're going in debt for an expensive hobby? I don't painting the figurines or crap, or going out drinking all the time. I don't know. But that's the other question here. He spent months skipping between jobs and even started his own photography business as a way to supplement his income. But when his wife lost her job as well, the repayments became impossible to keep up. Okay, so they both lost their job. But you're meant to come closer together when you're suffering challenge like this. He'd gone from a job where he was about to take on a managerial role to hiring himself out as a real estate photographer. Oh. I mean, you have to humble yourself sometimes through tough times. I remember when we went through a tough period. We'd lost a big project. A lot of work just disappeared, evaporated. I had to cut back on all the staff. And I had to humble myself to make ends meet, to keep money coming in. And it works out in the end. But I think the poor guy was probably not doing too well. Well, he admits he wasn't doing too well mentally. What's sad is that the marriage fell apart. Because a house, you can buy it again. Money, you can make it again. Jobs, career, you can make it again. But when you make a commitment to someone, you kind of want it to last, don't you? It's just, I'm old-fashioned, I guess. So, laboring in warehouses, unpacking shipping containers in 40-degree heat. So he did what he had to support his family, and that's sometimes what a bloke has to go through. Maybe that's, well, one lesson to take away from that is don't buy too much house. And I know that's kind of impossible in Sydney, but, let's keep going. Yet it was still not enough to cover the bills, and by December 21, the stress of the situation caused his marriage to fall apart. The financial duress was the number one cause of our relationship breaking, Mr. Graham said. We were a dual income household, which then turned into a single income household, which then turned into a no income household. Now, this is why one of the advantages, at least back in the day, was if you were a single income household and the wife was staying home taking care of the kids, if you lost your job, she could work. I mean, that could backfire too, but oh boy. It spiraled very quickly. The stress and the pain that we were feeling and the emotion ended up getting the better of both of us, and unfortunately we fell out of love. That's sad. The 2 years on, they're not yet divorced because Mr. Graham has not been able to save the $1,000 it costs to file the paperwork. Does it cost? You have to pay to get divorced? Well, she's not his ex-wife. She's still his wife. That's how tough it is to live at the moment, he added. His now estranged wife moved into an apartment of her own. Well, how can she afford an apartment? And around March 22, Mr. Graham tried in vain to hold on to the marital home. Selling the house became... Wait, so she abandoned him with the house, and he tried to hold on to it. Oh, shit. I don't like these stories. Guys, there's too many bloody, MGTOW blokes talking about this type of stuff, the ones that have just gone through shit. You're meant to have each other's back. That's the point of a marriage. You're a team. You're going to go through shit. You're going to go through financial struggles. I mean, that's just a part of life. That's a part of life. They were so young. They were just starting. I mean, this is one of the... People will say, how can you work with your wife? Because Rachel and I, we've been working together forever. And it puts things into perspective. You don't worry, you don't stress about the little things when you're stressing about, that $100,000 that's late in payment. You got to meet payroll. Things like that kind of put things into perspective a bit better. He lived alone there for 3 months in a state of second-degree homelessness before moving into his parents' game room. Okay, so he was screwed up. So his wife left him with the house, just walked away. Yeah, I mean, I can only see what is presented here in the article. It's sad that it got to that point. I mean, she was spending money on an apartment, wasn't she? Or did she own the apartment? Or was there someone else in the picture? My mental health was absolutely in tatters. It was becoming quite serious, he said. Luckily, my parents were able to help me with the spare room. Yeah, so he's got family that has his back. He's still pretty young. That's what you want. That's what you need to do for family. No matter how annoying they can be sometimes. I know that there are a lot of people who don't have that, and I'm extremely grateful for it. I know people who've lost tenancies and were just pushed onto the street. And that's it. You can try and line up for your 10 years for social housing, or you can couch surf, but it's really rough. Now, Mr. Graham wants others to share their stories to grow the collective consciousness about how bad this isn't a cost of living crisis, mate. This is not about cost of living. This is about you and your wife both losing your jobs, and she's leaving you with the house, just walking away. You could have both sold it sensibly together without racking up 3 months' worth of debt. It's not cost of living, mate. Something far worse. He calls for those in similar predicaments the invisible people. And they often find themselves suffering alone. Mate, I think that's just called being a bloke, to be sadly honest. While living with his parents kept a roof over his head, his mental outlook continued to deteriorate until he found a new partner who he's still with today. Okay, so there you go. That's the reality of it. Together they found themselves a rental home before Graham's bad luck continued. The landlord ended up kicking us out because one of their friends became pregnant, he said. We were informed at the beginning of December, and then we were freaking out over Christmas thinking, what are we going to do? You've got your parents, talk to them. They've got a house, they've got rooms. You shouldn't be on the street when you've got family. It's like that, the Greens, the 50-year-old Greens woman who had a house in Queensland in the city for $290 a week, which is bullshit. Used as a political prop. Her own sister was using her for party politics and protests. It's kind of disgusting, isn't it? Anyway, as the price of rentals continued to climb across Sydney, he ventured back out to inspections around Penrith on Sydney's Western Fringe, where he was regularly competing with 50 other applicants. None of the homes he or his partner, inspected girlfriend, or maybe boyfriend, were offering long-term leases, which heightened their stress level after already being kicked out of one place. I feel like a lot of agencies are going for short-term tenancies in order to then re-advertise at a higher price, he noted. Well, of course they're going to do that because of all of the rules they put on landlords to restrict them. It's going to mean everyone renting is going to be worse off. Just wait and see. Okay? It always happens. The young people just don't realize it because they don't have enough experience. That's why they vote the way they do. In the end, the pair found a small-time local... What? Fewer applicants? Yeah, who cares? What's the point of this? Anyway. Now settled in his new home, Mr. Graham is somewhat optimistic for his personal future, but retains a sense of bitterness about the struggle he and many others have caught up in the housing crisis. Okay, is this a generational thing? Maybe. It's definitely a feeling of betrayal to an extent. We see this in articles all the time. You know, these people face a challenge, a struggle. And they say it's unfair and they blame everyone, but it's just a part of life, guys. And I suspect it's because the audience on my channel, a lot of you are older. And a lot of you would have gone through shit and realized it's just part of life, okay? It's not this perfect ride, okay? You go to uni, you get the girl, you buy the house. It's just a seamless ride all the way to utopia. Not in a million years. Life throws you curveballs. Why aren't we told that anymore? I was told as a child to go to university, get a degree, get a nice job, make lots of money, and it'll be fine, he said. Did anyone actually ever tell you that? I think it's just the media painted that. And then everything came crashing down even though I'd done everything right. Right now I think the Australian dream is dead. The Australian dream in the 1980s was very different to how it is in the new roaring 2020s, which feels a lot like the other roaring 20s when something similar to the Great Depression. Oh, come off yourself, mate. It's not the Great Depression. Not by any measure. I'm sure you got a world of doomers predicting the world is going to end, but you look at their track record, they do that as a career. Yeah, it's oh. There's a whole lot of uncertainty floating around. There's always going to be uncertainty. Yeah, that's life. That's why you have to build buffers to plan for uncertainty. Shit can all change. You could get injured, lose an arm, be in a car crash. Something could happen. You could go shopping with your granddaughter. Then your whole life can change. That's a part of life, sadly. Although some things shouldn't be a part of life in our country, but yeah. I think it's a scary time to be in Australia. I'm going to reassess the situation every so often and see whether it's plausible to get back into the property market. But for now, in the foreseeable future, I'm going to be a renter for a really long time. I'm going to have to get 3 jobs in order to supplement my income, big enough to get on the property ladder. Then be a renter. Don't buy property. If you want to buy property, invest in real estate investment trusts. Build up a stack of passive income. Renting is not the end of the world. It's not the stigma. They don't put a bloody R on your forehead, renter, and everyone looks down at you. I know that tends to be how it's painted, but in reality it isn't. Mr. Graham continues to rebuild his tattered credit score. He said that he will remain optimistic because without that, there will be nothing left. I try to remain optimistic every day, but personally, I don't think I'll be able to get back on the property ladder for at least 10 years. It's not the end of the world, mate. You're not that old, not that young. Or you're not that old, you're only 27. Let's have a bit of a chat about this one, guys. I think this is he'd be a Zoomer, wouldn't he? The Zoomer generation, or maybe a young millennial, I don't know. Different enough from my generation. I'm one of the crusty old millennials that still had an analog childhood. And he did everything right. He was told everything, do this step, do that step, you'll be fine. But life throws you a curveball. His wife left him, went and paid rent in an apartment. We don't know what happened. We don't know what's going on. 3 months he was sitting there by himself, probably depressed out of his mind, the poor bloke, racking up debt. It's not, is it all in his name? Shouldn't it be in both their names? Did she lump it all on him? There's a lot going on here. You can't blame this on just the cost of living crisis. This is just when life throws you a curveball. This is why we're not taught this. Why Dave Ramsey tells you to have a 6-month buffer, which seems insane, but this is why you need it. But we only know good times in Australia. This is the most significant thing that's happened to many people in their lives. It's going to really shape a whole lot of them the last few years. So I feel sorry for poor Marcus, but at least he seemed to turn a leaf. He's found a new partner. Hopefully it'll all work out. But this ain't cost of living here. There's more going on. What do you reckon? Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one in the comments below. And thank you to the viewer who sent this article to me. And I'm going to go crack open, or I'll chill my lazy bear, and probably relax and enjoy the rest of my Saturday evening. Take care. Have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.